In this demo, what we're going to take a look at here is how you can configure ipsec settings in Windows Server 2008. Now the way we're going to do that is we're going to use the Windows Firewall with advanced security settings to go through and define some of these settings in here, or at least get the ball rolling. So what we're doing in here is the way we get to that is we're going to go to the Start menu. Under Start, we're going to go over to our Administrative Tools. And under Administrative Tools, we see Windows Firewall with Advanced Security. So this is the important thing. We got to make sure we go here first. So we're going to go here through and open this up. When we open this up, we're taking a look at the Windows Firewall with Advanced Security console, as we can see it here up top. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go through this console. And when we go through this console, you'll see first of all we have three profiles. Domain, private, and public. If the domain is the one we use when we're on the domain, private when we're going to be off or on a network that we control. That's not the difference between domain and private are subtle. They're there, but they're subtle. Then we have public, which is the default, which is if you're off a network or you're in an area that's insecure, like a coffee shop or airport, something like that, where you can't control the network, then this is where it defaults. But for right now, what we're going to do is we want to go through and we want to enable and work with ipsec. So the way we do that is we go over here to Properties. I'm going to click on Properties, and you see that we have Domain, Private, Public, and then the last one we have ipsec. Now what we're doing on here is we can go over here and click Customize, and we can set, for example, key exchange settings, which we've talked about. We can tell it, do you want to accept the default settings, or do you want to go in advanced and tweak it a little bit? And here you can see it's allowing you to set the actual key exchange algorithms that will be in place. Instead of going through and making a long discussion on the pros and cons of each one of these, which would be way outside the scope of this course, what we're looking at here is deciding which one is the best for you. Now you can leave it at the default. That's a pretty decent setting there. You should get it should work for most of you out there in your environments, but you can go through and customize it depending on what your needs are. Who knows, maybe you work in the defense industry or something else that has regulations and rules that are placed on it that you have to adhere to. Then you might change it. You can see over here, you can also tell it which one just by clicking on it, reorder it and say which one is used first, or which one will use, if the first wasn't available, which one's used next. So we're not going to change any of that. We're just going to go ahead and cancel that. We'll leave that as the default. We also see under data protection, a quick mode, we can go over here, do customize, and we can say, okay, this is dealing with the integrity aspect, as well as in our second one, encryption, adding that on. You can choose by going through and adding on what you want to set, how it's going to work. We can also go over here on encryption and click add, and you'll see it also goes through and adds on the additional encryption algorithms on here on what level of encryption you want to have. You can leave it at the default, which we have right here. This is actually pretty strong. If you want to go higher, well, 256 will give you a tremendous amount of protection, but it may be overkill depending on your environment. So look to see what your environment needs and which one is best for you. So I'm going to leave it at the default for right now. That's fine. And in fact, I'll just click cancel to make sure none of these settings are actually set. Authentication, how's authentication going to be done? It's up to you to decide, well, what level of authentication is applicable to your environment. You can say, use Kerberos for computer and user authentication, or you can go and customize it, use a certificate, or go through and click advanced and give it several different levels of authentication it will go through and combine and use. Now you can see on here we have the ability to use pre-shared key, great for testing, but outside of testing it's not recommended you use it, because all someone has to do to decrypt traffic is physically compromise one of your systems and grab this pre-shared key, and now they can encrypt and decrypt traffic, and you've lost security of ipsec at that point. So we're going to cancel this and cancel that. I'm going to leave all the defaults in place. Click OK. Next thing, ipsec. Is ipsec going to deal with ICMP traffic at all? Right now, no, it will not encrypt it. It's a ping packet, but you can go through and use that. Right now, we'll just say no and leave it as default. I'm going to click OK, and we've gone through and verified and configured ipsec support with the Windows firewall. So our next step would be actually configuring rules in there, which we'll look at and discuss a little later on in this chapter.